Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Let's face it, the future is now. We're living in a connected cyber society, and we need to stop ignoring it or pretending that it's not affecting us. Join us as we explore how humanity arrived at this current state of digital reality and what it means to live amongst so much technology and data. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Black Cloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io. BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com.
Hey, you in the back of the class.
Me?
You're not paying attention.
I'm not here.
You missed the lesson.
I'm not here. I'm an avatar. I'm not really here. Although
I'm not here either.
Well, we could discuss if the avatar is it really me or not.
That's true.
We could go there. Is that how we're gonna start?
We've already went down a strange path here.
Tempted, but we have a goal here. We have a plan.
Well,
and we'll try to stick to it.
Do you want to go somewhere you don't know anything about, or do you want to learn about it first before you start that journey?
Mm-hmm.
Or both?
I don't know. I'm going to ask that to our guest.
All right, let's do that.
And you know what we're going to do today, Sean? Before I let the guest introduce himself, is I want to say something like we're actually going to look at life in 2050. And for people that know us, once in a while, we have this crazy idea to time travel.
The time
and to try to figure out if it's a dystopia, utopia, where are we going, where can we go, and what can we do right or wrong if we think about it. Problem is, society many times just go for it. We don't really plan that much. So, but we're talking about education today, and I'm hoping that we can make some impact in that because society does depend from education, and if we get that right, maybe we can do something good. This is my podcast. I'm done with it. If you agree with what I said, that's it.
No, I don't.
No.
So let's keep
going.
Right.
Let's keep going then. I'll let you introduce our guest.
Yeah. So this was a conversation inspired by a post I saw on LinkedIn, which then I think led me to Interesting Engineering and Life in 2050, and it was written by Matthew Williams, who's on the show. Matthew, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you.
And so, to kick things off, we always like to give our audience a snapshot of who they're hearing from. So maybe a few words from you about what you do, and I know you write a lot of stuff for a lot of folks, and about a lot of interesting things, not just education. So a little bit about you, Matthew, and then we'll get into this topic.
Okay. Well, coincidentally, I started out as an educator. I was a teacher until 2015. But shortly before that, I started writing for Universe Today because of mutual connections and mutual shared interest in space. And since 2019, I've also written for Interesting Engineering. Those are my two main publications. There's been a few other, freelance things that I've done for other publications. And in my spare time, I'm a science fiction author. Ridiculously, these things all they go together very, very well. So there's kind of some kismet in there. And sort of my interest in one kind of inevitably led to another, which led back to something else that was related, and that's where I find myself right now. And my main interest is where are we going, humanity and such. That's inspired pretty much everything I've ever written, I'd say.
Yeah, that's right in tune with the way we think about stuff. We started with cybersecurity focus, and then but what does that mean for society? And then there is technology in between, and just like you, then we talk about a little bit of everything. Yeah, we look into the future, and today in particular, we're going to refer to this article that is part of a series. So maybe you want to introduce this series, because I agree with you. There is this interconnection, this synergy between everything we do. You can't just talk about education, like in this case, without talking about technology and politics and many other things. So how did this idea of this article, this series, come to be, before we jump into this particular one?
It's a bit of a long story there, but to give you the short version, it's basically been happening for me since about 2012. I was really trying to I was trying to learn all I could about the near future and the long-term future, partly for the sake of coming up with something interesting to write about. But I found that I was really, really fascinated by ideas about what is going to be happening and what's going to be happening soon. And the more I sort of dug into that, the more I realized that this century is quite possibly the most consequential one for humanity, human civilization, because we're coming up on two major breakthroughs that are going to be happening simultaneously and concurrently, and it's like you've got climate change on the one hand, which is an ever-growing anthropogenic problem that is very much the result of all of our technological growth and our growth as a species and our impact on the environment. And at the very same time, you've got what's called the technological singularity, right? The impending explosion in learning, and we're talking about AI and nanotechnology and biotech and all that stuff. And when researching all that, I kind of came to a point there. Was like, wait a minute, these different schools of thought, these different people, they're basically saying that by mid-century, both of these things are going to be reaching a huge climactic point. And I thought, well, that's very interesting, because these are related problems, but they're going to be pulling us in two completely opposite directions. So what's that going to look like? And so at a certain point, I pitched the idea of, what is that going to look like to the publishers at Interesting Engineering, and they certainly like the idea, because it's a very important question, but it's multifaceted. So I said to them, well, then how about a bunch of different articles that look at different aspects of 2050? Where are we going to be in terms of, say, education? What's warfare going to look like? What's space exploration going to look like? And that was a two-part installment, because it's a very big one. Living at home and transportation, I think, too. There were several there. Education was a fun one, because it related a lot to stuff I'd been reading up on how by mid-century, if everything goes the way we predict, we're going to be looking at a very significant overhaul of how we learn things, how we educate the young, and it's going to mirror a lot of what we're doing with money and communications and transportation and the like. And so, of course, these things are all interconnected, but they all have a very similar theme. It's going to be much more distributed and much more high tech.
Well, let's dig into that, Matthew, because I don't know, the thing that I keep struggling with is I think about the future of education, especially out mid-century in 2050, is is it just, it can't just be about how we teach, and it can't just be about what we teach. I think it also has to be what the outcome is that we want to achieve. And that, to me, that seems where it gets really challenging, because you kind of have to predict. I think you've nailed it down where you said we have the climate change and space exploration and some challenges geopolitically that we have to deal with. I think some of these things coming together might change what matters from an education perspective, which then might change what we teach, which then could change how we teach it. So pulling on the technology thread here, how do you see technology helping to shape that future, given some of the things you've already or obviously have put together as other things that we'll see happening in 2050?
Well, yeah. Well, one thing that is pretty certain right now is that the growth of the internet, right? Interconnectivity and the way in which the Internet of Things is rising up there, right? And that includes all things like augmented reality, virtual reality, haptics, and machine learning, and cloud computing. Yeah, so it's definitely a given that education is going to be a lot more immersive. And one thing I noticed for sure there was that the idea of eliminating the physical space or just decentralizing it, right? It's like right now, students still, the education model that we follow is still very much like it was in the 19th century. Students go to a schoolhouse. They have the teacher talking to a room of upwards of 20 or 30 kids. And you have your centralized education authority. They're deciding on curriculum and so forth. Whereas, in fact, the schools of the future are probably going to be much more, they're going to be much more international in flavor. They're likely to be grouped around shared interests and disciplines and the curriculum for them. If there is even a centralized or some kind of authority that decides on curriculum, it too is going to be a lot more open, and it's likely to have scholars contributing from various places around the world. So it's no longer a matter of we've got a board for this region with schools in this community hiring and dispensing from a standardized curriculum and textbook. Rather, it's going to be, we have this space in digital space, in the digital realm, where people are coming together from wherever, and they are developing the curriculum themselves, and also coming up with ways in which they want to assess and diagnose and grade, right? Or analytics, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely going to be a lot like that. And as for what they study, yeah, they're going to be, that's going to change a lot. And what's definitely going to be there for sure is technologies related to how do we do this cleaner, cheaper, green. How do we do more with less and make more go further so that we can see to the needs of more people, but with less resources. So yeah, it's like climate change will definitely play a role there, and clean energy to new modes of living. So yeah, everything from energy to engineering to space exploration and how we're going to use that to help save Earth. Yeah, saving Earth is going to become a major focus. Yeah, that too is I'd say a given by 2050. Mm-hmm.
So as you're describing this, and I apologize for if this sounds a little strange, but I'm a project manager by thought. That I look at everything like a project. So, and in recent years, when we look at technology, they've moved from a waterfall development model to an agile development model, which is much more flexible and shorter cycles of delivery of things. And I'm wondering, do we have to find a balance of what are we trying to accomplish in 2050, and it's one big long class that supports that with a bunch of little modules, or is the traditional we're going to set up 9 months of the year, and we're just going to pound you with certain topics and drill that same thing into your head and everybody else's head, regardless of what the outcome's going to be.
Oh,
do you think learning from tech will help change the way we teach, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because so yeah, the idea of having the drilling things into people's heads, and we're all here to learn the same things, and you're all being judged by the same metrics. I don't think that's going to be gone completely by 2050. It's like there's certain benefits to that kind of system there, right? It's like we need to hold kids to the same standards, whatnot, and there needs to be accommodation and so forth here and there always, and this has all come up a lot. I remember when I was in teachers college there, I was exposed to a lot of this, and I thought it's later on in recent years, I would think it is amazing how the theory that was coming up there, it didn't seem like anything was really being done about it, right? There's all this talk about creating a distributed model in the classroom, a postmodernist kind of take. Instead of just transmission of knowledge, it would be about assessing the students, addressing their various forms of intelligence, because everybody is intelligent in different ways. I choose to believe that anyway, and building on that, right? And taking into account different cultural narratives, different perspectives, because not everybody's coming into the class with the same, they're not a blank slate, right? They know things already. They're at a certain point in their development, and you got to understand all that. It was all good in theory, but I thought, I don't really see a lot of this happening. It really didn't change the curriculum that much. But yeah, it's like then we have just the internet and so many applications thereof that were working their way into the education system, and systems that allowed for distributed learning there, right? And the abbreviation for that right now is massive open online courses, or MOOCs. I thought that too. It's very similar to distance ed, and because I worked in some remote communities where distance education was really very important, and a good chunk of the students spent at least part of their day engaged in that. They would go online, they'd do quizzes and tests and readings and so forth, and they'd fill out the exam on a computer. So it's like it was, all this was starting to come true. And when I talked to people at the Synthesis School and at Astra and a few other places besides, it's like what you're saying resonates with what I learned many years ago, and the key theme here is about how do we leverage these technologies to make that happen. So I thought, technology has definitely played a role, but there will still be, I think, we do need to figure out how we're going to employ metrics and common standards and so forth there across the board. But it's definitely going to be, we're going to have to do that, because we're not going to have it's not going to be like a single classroom 9 months of the year anymore. It's going to be many classrooms, probably still coinciding with, the time periods in which, mom and dad need a break from their kids. Joke. And the curriculum, they'll be arrived at differently maybe, but it's still going to be, it's still going to resemble the schooling that we're used to, and that goes all the way back to the 19th century.
All right, let's have some fun, because I could stay and think of how behind and how slow the entire school system has been moving. I mean, you said it's been pretty much the same for 100 years or more.
Yeah,
I found it more exciting back in the classic Greece, when the teacher would really teaching to their disciples and so on. It sounds a lot more fun in my head. So you're a sci-fi fantasy writer. Let's get into the time machine, and let's imagine the technology that we're going to see. I see there is a chapter in this in in the article, and really envision what it could be, kind of like the Jetson that never arrived, right? The car. I'm still waiting for the flying car. So we're talking about augmented reality coming into place, haptics and virtual reality. Is it going to be the avatar that goes to school? And I can imagine, based on what you say, that even if the teacher is an artificial intelligence, it's not going to teach to everyone the same thing, because I think I agree with you. I mean, the most important thing is to teach according to the grade and the interest and the cultural background that a student has. So tell me a good story on how things could go well.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's imagine this. You have this massive building. It's an arcology, right? You got housing in there, plus all kinds of trees and fish farms and stuff. It's like nature and urban environment all in one. And so it's morning. Parents are signing into work, probably from their home office or what have you. And the kids go down to level whatever, 12, and they enter the room. Right, the kids that actually live in this building, they enter the room, they sign in. The virtual teacher, who may be physically real, but teleporting in from someplace else, they're up and they're telling kids to get into their sort of age groups, because grades, that's likely to be done away with, absolutely. So you'll have the building's kids there who range from toddlers to teenagers. Toddlers are playing in one room with virtual pets and things that they all can see, because they've got their display contacts tuned to the room's augmented reality thing. So they're chasing stuff around. They're learning their ABCs and such. And the older kids, they're signing into their stations in the main room, and they're working on projects. It's sort of broken down by age. So it's like, kids on the history lesson, we're now teleporting to Greece, and we're going to hear Socrates tell us all about the forms and the ideas, and we're going to learn about a little bit about ancient Greece, but also about timeless philosophical ideas. Older kids, we are engineering something here. So we're working with a group of students from China or India or Kenya, and we're building sort of a newfangled explorer for examining the deep earth or outer space. And we're turning on our haptic suits. And so we see what all students from all over the world are seeing, what they're working on, and anyone who's physically in the place where the model is being built, they're able to touch it. Everyone else is able to touch it too, though, with their haptic suits. So it's like, I've now got command of a robotic pair of hands, and I'm putting stuff together, and I can feel it because of the feedback from the suit. Or we're just toying around with virtual stuff, right? We want to learn how to build engines and so forth. So, we've got a tutorial on how to build an old gas-powered engine there, and we're putting together the gears in this virtual space, but it feels real. And the teacher is sort of directing the situation, and students start getting sort of mouthy with each other. It's like, oh, penalty. Like, right, stop what you're doing. That's rude. That's offensive. And there's likely to be a system of rewards where participation in good behavior is rewarded with some kind of credit system, or non-fungible tokens is kind of another. That's predicted right now, because that's kind of a big thing right now. And analytics, diagnostics are happening, and they're AI driven, right? The entire time you're signed in, your academic behavior and a profile on you is being created. That's going to help you get to where you want to go, right? It's like, you specified that you're interested in this. I feel like I'm going along here.
No, I love it. I was gonna jump in, but I was enjoying the story. I was having fun, and I was thinking, hey, I kind of want to go back in school in 2050 if I can upload, I don't know, my brain somewhere and be young again. But I want to exactly make a point about. It sounds to me that it's fun, and there is this gamification. And it's less structured. So I don't know, Sean. It's gamification. You want to go back to school too, or you're done?
Well, it's funny we're on the same wavelength here, Marco. I was going to say that when I think I enjoyed some parts of school, hated others, but I think generally school seems like a chore, right? It's the job that students have every day. And they look forward to the weekend breaks like adults do, and then they look forward for the summer breaks and other smaller breaks throughout the year. And I guess my question is, does that need to change for success in 2050 in terms of you mentioned incentives, but less about what it incentivizes them, more about what they want to learn, and will there be more freedom to let kids go more toward language or more toward mathematics or more toward arts? And I'm thinking like the virtual school counselor, right? Where you said the kids can end up where they want to go, but maybe it's more personalized or purpose built, the curriculum based on their skills, aptitude, and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think one thing I remember, about school was, I was very much a self-directed learner. I didn't do so well in certain courses, but that I would later find out, but I actually do enjoy them, like the maths and sciences. They're actually quite enjoyable if, you're coming at them from a perspective of, well, I want to learn about this. I want to find out more about this. And then you see how it all connects and stuff. And it's like, after a while, you find yourself appreciating it. Whereas it's like, okay, today we're going to talk about this and this. And it's, a lot of pure numbers and pure exercises and such. And it's like, I can find interest in this, but I'm not coming at it from a place of interest. I'm just, having it dumped in front of me and doing my best to get it right because I don't want to fail and I don't want to, get left behind. And, and of course, interests change over time, right? Like, you think about, what did you want to be when you were 6 or 7? And what did you want to be when you were a preteen? What about by the time you were graduating from high school and you actually had to make that decision? And it would be really nice if we could study what interests us, what we're passionate about over time, and there was flexibility with that, and even flexibility with graduation, right? It's like, if you want to work in any of these sectors, well, you have to develop an aptitude for that stuff and show that you know it. It's not just about grades, of course, but you want to demonstrate competencies in these areas. So as long as you finish those, whenever you do, then you can apply, and they'll look at all your metrics there and how you did. So I think that definitely. In fact, you brought it up, and I was wondering if you were going to say it there. It's like, so you got an incentive system, but the main motivation is it's fun, and you're learning what you want to learn about. So you don't have to really be bribed. That's just there for a little added fun. And it would be especially fun if you could trade those tokens or at the end of a cycle, end of a term for rewards, right, for things.
A flying motor scooter or something like that.
Yes, why not?
Flying motor scooter.
All right, so let me go into kind of what could be the bad news, meaning the technology, it's already, a lot of it is here, maybe rudimental, but we're getting there. Virtual reality and goggles and all of that. how is it going to move this system? That's what worries me the most. What is going to take from a political perspective? Is it going to be an economic incentive? Is it going to be a private driven schooling system? And if that happens, is it going to be a much better democratic mass access to this, or we're still going to have that big divide of the rich will be rich, the poor will be poor, the education is going to be left where it is. And it'd be nice you could come on our class, but you got no internet where you live.
Yeah.
I don't know. Elon can help with the Starlink, but that's different.
Yeah.
How do you see this happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it is amazing looking at the progress that's been made, right? And not just since, like, when public education started. It was the 19th century, and it was like only a fraction of people worldwide could read or write. And but yeah, as the 19th century unfolded, public education became a major thing because, yeah, politically, governments were now responding to the fact that, well, more people are living and working in the urban environments. The general standard of living is just getting higher, even though, the industrial barons, they have no intention of redistributing wealth, but it's happening anyway because they can't control that. And so, yeah, over time, more and more people had an education and were demanding reform and getting it. 2016, I thought a neat figure there was the illiteracy and literacy sort of became inverted, because by 2016, only 14% of the global population was still illiterate. But of course, it's like 95% of those people were living in developing countries. 70% of them are women. And the disparities we see today with education is like everything else, like access to medical care and so forth. It's like there's a gap between the rich and poor nations, and there's a gap between communities in the rich nations. There's, of course, also a gap in the developing countries as well. So, yeah, wherever wealth exists, you have better outcomes. But the really cool thing is the technology is actually driving a lot of the change that we see, because the development of mobile phones, for example, with actual internet access, that led to a proliferation of internet users across the developing world. And by 2050, I got these figures somewhere. They're in the article too, of course. By 2050, it's estimated that 90% of the population will have internet access, mainly because it's becoming cheaper and easier to get online, and you no longer need to plug into a physical infrastructure. If there's any kind of phone service in your country, you can do the let's see, what are we up to now? 3G, 4G, and 5G. So yeah, by mid-century, it's expected that 9.25 billion people will have access to the internet, and the majority of that growth is actually going to be driven by Africa, because they're the up-and-coming part now. Sub-Saharan Africa is the one that's on the rise. Asia was on the rise, but now they're clearly, they've climbed the ladder considerably. And so, the concern still is.
Can I pause you there, Matthew?
Sure.
Because what I'm wondering, we're talking about what's going to drive this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just wondering, will there be some force bigger than us that says we need people to be educated and to have a certain skill set? I mean, we can look at any industry and each one will say we're lacking in skills. We don't have enough people. Yeah. And we see some companies do some of the training and help bring people up through the ranks and get them the education they need. Do you see a force like that, where it's not government driven, but maybe commercially driven, or perhaps even some greater good entity comes along and says, enough of this climate
aliens.
Change crap. Aliens come in and say, here's how you be green.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, yes, to answer your question, sorry about the tangent there. I think it will be. I think it will very much be commercially driven, but luckily, it's not going to be driven by just a bunch of giants like Google or Facebook or what have you, but a lot of startups, a lot of grassroots startups too. And yeah, I mean, the motivation is economic. It's like there's money to be made, and we can do it in a way that's actually a lot more cooperative and decentralized than the old model. We're not in the era of industrial economics anymore. Now it's all about, it is about, this content, right? It's about brains. It's about data. It's about, yes, the ability to communicate the information. So yeah, there's always going to be the big giants who want to control the flow of information, right? And learn all they can from it. But I'd say, yeah, the greatest force behind all this is going to be people, and whether that's for better or for worse, it's hard to say. But yeah, but I've listened to what I'm saying right now, and it's like, well, Bill Gates and Al Gore were saying stuff like that about the internet back in the 90s. And well, it's good to be reminded that there's good stuff coming from the global village and so forth, and that connecting people from all over can lead to a lot of good things. But there's going to be bad things too. There's going to be internet trolls, hackers, and lots and lots and lots of crappy information. Yeah, but yeah, there will be some.
And NFTs.
NFTs, yes, NFTs.
Everything will be an NFT.
Yeah, and don't forget just people with weird crackpot theories. And Marco, you mentioned democratization. Is that you? Or, yeah. There will absolutely be that more people participating, and in a way that is more self-directed, self-driven. That's going to be very democratizing. And that's that too. The whole idea of distributed systems. I mean, that too is something that was predicted decades ago. And again, that's for better or for worse. Sometimes it's okay to have a few people in charge of what a whole large group of people are doing. But at other times, having a population at large determining its own activities, that can be wonderful. It can also be really chaotic.
Yeah,
but it will. Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes me think always, because the driver is often the money, but always the money. And it's a quick parenthesis here, as I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were saying that now there is a lot of investors that invest in suing companies or even government that damage the environment. Because if they win, they make money. So in a way, it's like, well, yeah, they do it for the money, but at least they're putting it where it's actually doing something good, right? Almost like we need to balance that. Education is a right. I believe it should be for everyone. But if somebody can make some money, I think the private school system here in the United States is proving that versus the others. So I can only see that happen if there is a hybrid, like a force of, as you say, many startups come together. The government says, I'm really running this public school system. It's not so good. It costs money. It's not delivering much. Nobody's happy. Let's outsource maybe schooling and contributing to that. We're outsourcing NASA to go to the moon again. To the private sector, we may as well outsource the schooling system. I don't know. That could be an idea, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that the governments are going to have to be there. It's like they're not going to be the primary drivers of change, I don't think, but they're going to have to play an important role. And I think that's where the whole, we still need standardization. We still need this and that. And it's like, communities at large are participating in this, but do they have a voice in this? Are they making their concerns? Are they able to get them to whoever's providing it? And I think that's where the government needs to be and always should be. It's like, well, we're the appointed representatives of the people. people here have concerns about what you're trying to do. And I think a really good idea would be, it's like, well, the public school system could benefit not by letting corporations take a chunk of it or having them sponsor the school, but it's like, well, our kids need VR goggles and haptic gloves for the next year. We've decided to let this group of people, this company provide. And get
sponsors. I like that.
It's like, and we got a deal on it because, these companies want their products in front of the future generation. They want to look like, oh, we did something good and we helped you guys get an education. Please be our loyal customers in the future. Mm-hmm. So, definitely a hybrid approach. I don't know if that will be how it happens, but that is definitely how it should happen. Otherwise, otherwise it could be rather ugly.
So I know we're getting kind of close to the end of time here. And it's we're not even near 2050 yet, but end of time for this episode, say.
Yeah.
But what I want to touch on quickly, Matthew, is there anything we need to stop doing to get out of our own way to arrive at a good place in 2050? What do we need to, the mindset change, get rid of legacy stuff? What is it that we need to let go of?
That's a very good question. I do think that, school boards do need to, they need to brace, I think, for a lot of the changes coming. They need to, be open to making a transition to this sort of thing. I think the old model of schooling definitely does need to not resist change. It has been, and I noticed this again, when I was studying to become a teacher. It's like, well, there's a lot of talk about change and incorporating change, but you're doing it like a government. You're trying to implement it incrementally. You talk big, but what do you actually do? And it's not, because of they're disingenuous or whatever. No, it's just because change is hard, and it is hard to know how fast to go with it. And it's a lot of work. So that does need to happen, and I think it will. But I would say there probably needs to be better outreach to educators and such, and let them know. It's like, so this, all the change that you're seeing, well, here's the context of it. And whatever concerns you have, totally understandable. There needs to be better communication between, the futurists and reformers and the people who are going to be implementing, the changes. I should say the disruptors. There should be better communication between the disruptors. Yeah. Other than that, I'd say what really needs to go too is this idea that the solution to the school's problems is just to privatize them, because that to me was like an infectious idea. And I'm very happy that I live in Canada here, right? It does seem like the resistance to that idea is a bit more firm, but we're by no means setting an example there. It's like all over our country, all over the English-speaking world. There's this idea that if we just open the school's doors to private investment and control, and bust up, teachers' unions and other forces for keeping things how they've been, or ensuring teachers get a say, that's no solution at all. Yeah, it's like innovation needs to be brought into the classroom. It needs to be done from a place of, this is about the kids, not simply not handing power over to someone else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I come myself from an education in Italy, where didn't really cost me much to go through a doctorate, but then I did experience a few months at the Michigan University, and when I figured out what that cost to go there, it was like, you gotta be kidding me. that doesn't even include housing and living as just the cost. So I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's a right, and I think it's the future generation. And you just say it's about the kids. I say it's about the future. I mean, you mentioned about we need to save the planets in 2050 and of course more than that. And we know it's a problem. So if we don't use education to open eyes and instead of going backwards sometimes, I feel like we take 2 steps back once in a while, and that's not exciting because technology keeps going there. So at the end of the day, the conversation here is we need to find a way to go along with technology and technology that serves everyone. So I do believe that the government needs to be somehow involved, and that you just can't leave it to the private sector. But that will be the driver for technology. So why not? Right?
Yeah.
So with that, I would suggest everybody to read this article, and I think there is a connection with the other article you mentioned about on other topics, and so we will have this link and some other resources if you want to provide it to us and to our audience, and maybe we'll chat again soon about some other topic. It was very entertaining and certainly made us think, which is
full of stories, which is really cool. Yeah, I love the concept of the outcome driven objectives. So don't just do it. Just like technology, just because you can build it doesn't mean you should, and just because we can educate a certain way doesn't mean that's the way we should continue. So good stuff, Matthew. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts in those articles, and then with us here in this conversation. Hopefully, folks think there'll be links to the show notes. And thanks everybody for another Redefining Society here on ITSP Magazine.
BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com. Black Cloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.